everyone, it's Rita with Everything Homemade, and I'm going to show you how to make a decoction. And this would be the second part of the video I made previously on how to make a proper cup of tea. And so many of you have commented going, wow, that one simple step that I showed you in that video transforms your herbal teas. And I really focused on a herbal infusion using the aerial parts of the plant. So the soft parts, the leaves, the flowers, anything that is green that you would normally make a tea out of. But in this video, I'm going to decoct basically using harder parts of the plant. So I'm talking about a woody stem, not a green stem. So make that distinction. A green stem is something that I can bend or pinch really easily, while a woody stem looks hard. Okay, you would make a decoction out of bark. You would use this technique also if you would be using the roots of things, because you can't infuse hard parts of a plant in 5 minutes, not like a nice infusion that I showed you in the previous video. And I am definitely going to link that video right now because it is transforming the way that people drink tea, and you will realize how much better your cup of tea is by you changing and doing one particular technique. So I'm going to mention here that I'm also an author. So if you love action romance, I'm a fiction author. Check out my books at the end of this video, and everything is in the description box below. So if you want to look at Amazon and check them out, definitely do so with the links provided in the description box below. When you're listening to my videos on herbs, please make comments in the comment box that do not apply to your health. I am not a licensed physician, so please do not ask me about any personal information, any personal health. I am going to just generalize, give you information. You take it from there. You go do some research and see. What I'm going to do is basically equip you with the right techniques and how to utilize herbs, and you take that herb or you take that information and go from there. So herbs are powerful, but in order to utilize their nutritional value or the medicinal properties, you have to make sure that you use them in the right way. This all comes down to technique. So this is why I'm really focusing on showing you the techniques first before we just jump in and I just start showing you plants after plants after plants, but you don't have the techniques down pat. Now, I left a few weeks in between the last video because I really want you to get used to making that proper cup of tea, and so many have. And so now you've got that basic down. Now let's jump into how to decoct. The word sounds big and maybe a little bit intimidating, but to decoct a herb or make a decoction is super easy. First thing you need is some kind of root, bark, or stem. So I'm going to do the dandelion one because they are everywhere, and everyone, mostly everyone I should say, is familiar with the dandelion. So the dandelion roots should be harvested in the fall. One, because they have the most nutrients. What they have discovered scientifically is that in the spring, the aerial parts of the dandelion, so the flower, the stem, and the leaves, have the most nutritional value, and they spring up in the spring, they soak in the sun, and that's why animals like to eat them so much. They are definitely really good for the liver and the kidneys. They detoxify in a nutshell. So they pulling out the toxins in your body, which is really good because you just came off winter if you're living in the northern environment like I am, and you want to basically do a spring cleaning. So an infusion of dandelion flowers and leaves, or just eating the flowers in salads, is really good. But usually dandelions start dying off in end of July, August. You'll start noticing the leaves turning red. You'll start noticing that their foliage isn't that great anymore. And now they are transforming the sun's energy, and they're putting everything in the roots. And now the roots, usually after the frost, later on in the fall, in September, October, the roots are actually sweeter than they are in the spring. In the spring, they're very bitter. So realizing how the plant changes throughout the season also changes how you harvest and utilize each individual plant. So that's why I'm going to do dandelion. So dandelion right now, as I'm filming, we're actually in midsummer, but because it's been super hot, a record breaker hot year, the dandelions are already dying back. They're already putting all that energy into the roots almost a month and a half earlier than they would regularly do, because of the weather. So you really got to pay attention to the weather when you're dealing with herbs as well, because every year is never ever the same as the year prior in harvesting, and some plants will mature sooner and your harvest will be a month earlier, or sometimes things are delayed and everything is delayed, so you're actually harvesting a month later. So you have to be versatile when it comes to herbs and using them. Let's find some dandelion roots. Now, they're everywhere. So this is my flower bed right here. And if you take a look on first glance, there's dandelions everywhere. There's dandelions everywhere around here. So come a little closer here, Nova. Let's go hunt for some dandelions. So here's some dandelions right here, and you can see the brownish. They're dying back. Here's some more, but what I'm really looking for are the dandelions over here, and this is just a video to show you how to make a decoction, and I need some kind of fresh root. Now let's try this dude. So here's a nice root right here. So let's get another one here. Okay, so here's some dandelion roots. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take off the tops. Now you can see the middle here is dying back. Like, these aren't the greatest dandelions, but I'm definitely not going to waste the leaves. They aren't very good to eat. They're kind of bitter right now because it's not spring anymore, but my cows will definitely love them. So I'm just going to twist and break them off, but what I want the root. So I'm going to do the same thing with this one here. And I'm going to do the same thing here. So for the purpose of this video, these 3 roots here will do just fine. I got a little treat for you. Come here. Come here. Oh, is that good? Cinnamon. I got some for you too. Don't eat my roots. Good job. Good girl. So now it's time to wash the roots. Now I'm just putting on gloves because I have a hurt here and I don't want my Band-Aid wet. That is the only reason why. But I'm gonna take my roots right here, and I'm just going to wash them up just with some cold water. Now let's take the washed roots over to my cutting board. I'm not concerned about the skin. I want the skin on. They look really nice and they cleaned up really nice. Now, if you had like bigger ones with deep crevices, make sure you get the dirt out of those. I'm just going to chop off the top here on this one. Otherwise, I'm just going to kind of chop it basically like 1.5 centimeters in length. Nothing crazy, something like that. These little roots, no problem. You can keep them on. Okay, so how simple was that, right? So that's all you need to do. The other thing I want you to think about is because dandelion is so because dandelion detoxifies so well, go look on the internet what it does for cancer. So, hint right there, it is an amazing herb. And I'm going to leave it as that. The reason is because if I have to really watch what I say, because otherwise the FDA or other higher up people could shut me down. So, little hint, check it out for cancer, what dandelion root does. There's lots of material about it. So, let's now take this root. And the key thing with decoction is you take the root, the woody stem or a bark, you put it in your pot, and you put cold water over it. You don't just put hot water over it. The reason is because hot water changes the properties of the herb. So it kind of basically shocks it. And if you do, it doesn't, science has found out that if you put cold water over it and then heat your pot up, it actually allows the medicinal properties to leach out better. If I put hot water instantly over these herbs, it kind of holds it back and it doesn't do a nice slow release. And the whole point of making a decoction is for medicinal purposes, is to have the medicinal properties leached out into the water, therefore drinking it. So really important there. Now, it is all over the map on the proportions here, but I usually like to use a tablespoon of herb to 1 cup of water. If you find that too strong, go down to a teaspoon to 1 cup of water. There is no, you're wrong if you use a teaspoon to a cup of water, or use 2 teaspoons to a cup of water. You aren't wrong if you change the proportions a bit. There's nothing written in stone that this is the only way to do that. And I want to make that really clear, because so many of us get hung up and go, this is the only way you can do it. It's not. Your taste buds, my taste buds are so different. What I can handle, a really strong tea, somebody else needs a weaker tea of that same herb. All herbs don't sit well with me, neither with somebody else. That's why I totally believe God made all these herbs. There's so many herbs that do the same thing. You can live in any part of the world and you can find herbs that will act the same way in different parts, totally different, but they may agree with you better. So when I say I use a tablespoon to a cup of water, you can use a teaspoon to a cup of water, 2 teaspoons to a cup of water. You play with that proportion to see what you like. It's okay if you like it weaker, or maybe you like it a little bit stronger. Just a word of caution. All herbs are different. So if you go really strong, make sure that you have made a weaker tea to try it. Make sure that your body can handle it. It is medicinal, so you can have side effects to it. So whenever you're making a herb, look up that herb, do some research. If you're on medication, does it counteract that medication? You always want to try it weaker in strength before you just dive right in and make a strong pot. And sometimes you got to build your body up and get your body used to it. So a heavy detoxifying herb like the dandelion, if you're really, really full of toxins, a small amount is going to have a huge effect over somebody like me who detoxifies regularly. I need a heavier dose to actually get that same detox. So think about those things when you are preparing herbs. Now let's get back to the pot. Okay, so I have about a tablespoon of herb here, and I'm going to pour 1 cup of water. Now this is just, it's not ice cold water, it's just room temperature water into my pot. Now this pot, yes, it's overkill. I'm sure you're thinking about it. I can read your minds. This is a huge pot, but I had a smaller glass pot, but my lid broke to it, and you have to have a lid when making this, and so yes, my pot's overkill. You can start giggling about it right now. Okay, I'm gonna put on my hot plate here to fairly high, and basically what I'm gonna do now is just cover my pot and let it get to a simmer. So in this case, last video I told you never ever have your herb in boiling water. And with the decoction is the exact opposite. You want it to hit a simmer. So we're gonna come back when my pot is simmering, and then I'll tell you exactly what to do from there. So my pot here is starting to simmer, and you can definitely see that. So what I want to do is I just want to keep it at a nice simmer. So I'm just going to turn it down to low to medium heat. And I just want it to keep this simmer. Keep your lid on, because a lot of nutrients can evaporate if you don't. And you don't want all your water evaporated anyway. So keep it at a nice light simmer. I'm just going to actually turn it down a little bit more. Just on to low here. And so now what you want to do is simmer this from 20 to 40 minutes. How I judge between 20 and 40 minutes is that if it's a softer root like a dandelion, it's about 20 minutes. If it is a much harder root, really fibrous root, or a bark, or, you know, like really, really a hard stem, then I will go for 14 minutes. So we're gonna just simmer it lightly, just like that. That's perfect. And simmer this for 20 minutes. So this is 20 minutes later. It's completely done. So let's look inside the pot. So take a look. I mean, it really doesn't look that much different, but the taste, of course, will be. So I'm just going to turn this off. And I'm just going to take my pot over to somewhere where I can strain it. Now, if you take a look here, what I've set up is I have a measuring cup here. I have a measuring cup here with a strainer. What I'm going to do is just simply strain my solids from my liquids. And you can see here the different color. You can see that. And this here is very, very nutrients. Now, let's say that you're 20 minutes up, you don't have time to strain. You can definitely let your dandelion herb here, or your dandelion root, to just sit in the water, and it'll just continue to leach out. Now, usually you can almost do this twice and get nutrient value out of it. So you can definitely put some just lukewarm water over this, bring it to a boil, and continue to boil it some more, and just pull out as much nutrients as you can. So then you're left with the decoction right here, a cup of tea. It's totally up to you now. If you can sweeten this with honey, you can actually make a herbal infusion like I showed you how to make a proper cup of tea. You can actually make let's say a peppermint tea right now with stevia or anything like that, and then pour that little bit of liquid in here and make it so it has a really nice flavor. You can play with those things. But right now, this is what you want to drink. If you want to make a bigger pot and store this, I definitely recommend that you store it in the fridge and drink it within 24 to 36 hours. So if you want to do this medicinally and drink this 3 times a day, make one pot, use it for that day or 2 days, and then make another pot. But definitely store the tea in the fridge.